Hello, my name is Alex Rumble. I'm the Chief Marketing Officer here at HTEC. And today we're discussing operating models. We have seen in the research that we have done recently, which was around 2,500 respondents that we had across North America, Europe, and the Middle East, that adopting enterprise-wide AI very much still remains a challenge, and that requires the evolution of business processes. The conversation has shifted from proof of concepts much more towards how do we manage this as a business? How do we evolve our operating model to ensure that we do in fact capture that value? Everybody seems to be talking about operating models. We see reading a lot about it, and I've decided to invite Ronnie Fehling, our Chief AI Officer here at HTEC, to join the conversation. So Ronnie, first of all, welcome, and thank you for joining me. Ronnie, a lot of companies are currently debating AI operating models, but progress and decisions are slow. Where are they getting stuck? What are they getting wrong?
Well, you're right. They're debating a lot around this. And the debate, as you know, has been going on for a very long time. We have all kinds of discussions around federated, centralized models, how we allocate the budget, put the guardrails in. But I would say most of those companies have not earned the right yet to talk about governance. Now, I don't mean that in an arrogant way, but it's really that we see that these things are evolving as you realize how AI actually works in your operations.
Right.
And if you happen to design the operating model, the governance, the value allocation too early, you tend to have the phenomenon that you optimize for control rather than for scale and for speed. And I think that is where we have some of the problems, because you first control and you don't learn anymore how you should act actually in there. Or it slows down the learning because you have so many approval processes. And once that learning from the AI initiatives slows down, I think the scaling of it becomes really, really difficult.
Tell me a little bit more about what you mean by optimizing for control before learning.
So if you have a standard governance model, you have the structure that you put into place. You have the target state designs that you define, this has to achieve that. You have to put all the policy elements into place. And you often do that before you have one meaningful AI initiative into production.
Right.
And the intent, of course, and the importance is very good. You have to be able to use governance to run AI safely. But in practice, this kind of structure often slows it down, because then you need to first know who needs to approve this, what are the requirements for that. And if you slow down, then the value realization or the rejection of the company with regards to these actually happens, and your AI initiative might die.
So in fact, if you do the governance first, you're putting guardrails around something, therefore you're limiting your own learnings, which means you're also limiting the value that the company can effectively get from AI in the first place. Do you see that governance being put into place early often in the conversation that you're having?
It is a natural phenomenon of the company. It's a desire for control.
Right.
It's how they have made business, how they have made money on this. And it's oftentimes also with the structure that you do with traditional software development, where you have a clear requirement set, you have a clear testing harness, you have a clear outcome. When I say, it's like either it works or there's a bug. And therefore, we are used to having this control structure up front to reduce the amount of errors or the amount of friction that we generate with, developing in the wrong direction. But AI is different on that.
Yes.
And that's where I think this kind of thinking does not work anymore in there. And we have to learn on it. We have to be a little bit more uncomfortable. And then, guardrails can be put into place by de-risking some of the parts that we're touching on this. But actually trying to see what is the bounded kind of environment that we can operate in that is not a test environment, that is not an experimentation, that's not a technology validation, but that actually shows that we can safely put it into production. And out of that, we learn.
Right. So it's not about governance not being important. It's really about when does it become important and the sequence in which we engage that.
Exactly.
So CIOs are clearly focused on ROI with AI, as they have been with any software or technology, really. And value creation is a primary driver for that as well. How do you distinguish between value thinking and ROI thinking?
Yes, that's very good. Because, it seems often two sides of the same thing. And of course, ROI looks at the return on the investment of this. And it's oftentimes that the AI projects or software projects or any kind of projects have to have a clear business case before. And the business case in turn also looks at how much does it cost to put into place and how much do we get afterwards out of this. The problem with ROI is not the ROI, but as we said before, it's when do you have the ROI focus and when do you have the value focus. So the value focus is set through an ambition. You think that should be achievable if we have this and this in place. But due to the nature of AI, you need to learn sort of if that ambition is achievable. So the focus, until you get to that first production slide, has to strictly stay with the value focus. Otherwise, you get a sunken cost effect. You say, we put some more money in it.
Yes.
And you cannot expect a good ROI, let's say, in a 3-6 months project. The initial cost of deploying AI and changing quite a bit of the structure and the processes will never be in a very strong mode against what you're trying to optimize for. The value thinking should be tremendously higher than any kind of investment. But since you don't know exactly the investment, and since you cannot yet validate completely the value, I think the process has to be different.
Yes.
Now, once you have that first slice of production, now you need to slowly transfer to the thinking of the ROI. So what does it take to put this into scale? How much effort is this? What is the cost of the tokens that we require for that? Those are then economics that come into place. But forcing it, too early in a certainty kind of thinking that ROI typically has does not create that discipline that you actually want. But it creates a slowdown and typically the wrong operating model response, because now you're trying to reduce how much you invest while not assessing fully the value that you can achieve.